Hey everybody, my name is Kalle Slaap, watchmaker from the Netherlands, and 1948, the year that changed watches forever, because your wrist is the worst place to wear a watch. For centuries, people wore their watch in a waistcoat. For a reason. You don't store delicate things on your wrist. That's why your vital organs are in your torso, because you don't bump into things with your torso. If you ever wondered why you don't have a spleen or a kidney on your wrist, that is the reason. So it is the safest place to store your delicate watch. Well, I got this one from such a happy client who was so happy with the restoration, so I got it as a gift. You wear your delicate timepiece on your torso because it is simply the safest place. Then the Great War, the First World War, broke out, and soldiers in the trenches, well, you cannot tell the time with a weapon in your hand. So it is just cumbersome. It's much easier to, okay, there we go. So that's when trench watches were invented, well, between 1914, early 1920s. And then it was handy to tell the time, but not the best way to wear a watch, because even now with modern watches, people who play golf, hunt, tennis, it is every single time such a shock to such a delicate mechanism. Then 1948, the genius, and that is the shock system. There we go. Oh, yeah. I want to talk a bit more about this because it is such an elegant, beautiful solution to a vast problem. Because every mechanical watch is running with a balance wheel, and that balance wheel has to move as smooth as possible to tell the accurate time. Remember, watchmaking is all about reducing friction. So is this. It's called isochronism, and that is the movement of the balance wheel as subtle as possible. So you want the easiest movement on the tiniest of pivots. There, we're looking at the balance wheel like this in this model. You want the smallest of pivots, there, of hardened steel, nice and hard material, burnished, so perfectly polished. You want them running in rubies, very hard material, diamond hardness 10, ruby hardness 9. So it's moving nice and freely. But, and that is physics, if there's a bang, the first thing that will break are these hardened steel pivots. So you really don't want to bang it. You just want to tell the time the easy way. What is the solution? Well, usually it's coffee. Cheers. Watchmaker fuel, of course. Then 1948 came by, and the genius of, well, either Inca block, this is KIF, but the shock protection, that's it. Finally, since 1948, you can wear your watch, bang it, and it didn't break. Now, the genius. Once you've seen it, it is so simple. You think, just a shock system. It is genius because it's so small and elegant. And if something works like a dream, Usually it's elegant as well. So is this. Inca block is the factory name or the model name, but a shock protection has, there are at least 128 different solutions to the same problem, but I'll show you what it is. Here is the balance wheel horizontally with the hardened steel pivots. If there's a shock, look at this. It is genius. The balance wheel can slightly move because here, that line over there, that line over there, that is a spring. A steel spring, and then maybe gilded or brass, but it is steel, spring steel. So your balance wheel can slightly move, and those springs, that one and that one, will press them back together. Everything red is ruby, and this is the steel pivots, and this is the chaton. This is the chaton. This is the chaton holder, and the beauty are these slopes, about 45 degrees. So if there's a bang, it moves slightly, because those of the slopes, it comes back, pushes back just right in the central where you want it to be. There. So it moves slightly. And the real genius, because it really is, lies here and there. Because if there is a bang, like that, all the force and the power is here. The really wide, heavy part of the balance staff, and not here the very delicate tips. Look at that. Here is where the power is secured and not there. So watchmaking really changed from 1948. For example, here is the illustration of the balance staffs. They are tiny, tiny, tiny. And in earlier days, before 1948, it was so often that a watchmaker had to replace a balance staff. Now, labor was cheap in them times. So yeah, okay, another balance staff, because the pivot just broke. We still do it here. Well, daily is a bit of an exaggeration, but a few times every week, yeah, sure, because we restore vintage watches like this one from before 1948. Here is, well, the balance wheel is out. That is that one over there. But here is no spring, like that one. These aren't cheap watches. The beautiful chronographs from the, well, 1940s, 1930s. Well, this is just a donor movement for parts. I just got here from the parts division. But it's very simple to see that there is no shock protection. And again, this is just for parts. There is shock protection. This one is from after 1948. Of course, if you like your watches, there's no problem whatsoever with buying them before 1948. Only leave a tiny bit of budget for eventualities if the watch of the balance staff will break, because they will break. Just as it's so easily done. Just like a car engine with a turbo, it always says on the back of the car, turbo. It was something to be proud of, just like this one. Inca block is, oh, you can see this movement came from a gilt case and they just banged it open. So that is why this is a donor movement. It says Inca block on the dial because it was such an had promotional value. It's got Inca block. It was such a step up for durability, reliability of vintage watches. And here you can see it's a telephone dial. Here, this is the minute counter. Do you remember Sylvia's mother? And the operator says 40 cents more for the next 3 minutes. That's why it's a telephone dial. Nothing wrong with loving vintage watches from before 1948, but they are a bit more fragile. It can be repaired if a pivot breaks. Not cheap. But leave a bit in your budget if you buy watches from before 1948, and otherwise look for Inca block or KIF or another shock protection system that it makes it so much more of a daily beater. And if it hasn't got shock protection, it's more like a dress watch you wear on occasions and you don't chop wood with it, for example. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed the genius of Inca block. And my name is Kalle Slaap, watchmaker from the Netherlands. If you like this stream, please hit the like button. And if you got a watch collection, please let me know what vintage watches you really like. I read every single comment, so I really would love to hear from you. All of you, enjoy the day. See ya. Bye bye.